President Biden testing positive for COVID-19. Third time in 2 years that the president's tested positive. The White House with an update today saying he has mild respiratory symptoms. 81-year-old. There's the president last night telling reporters on Air Force One on his way back to Delaware, "I'm doing well." But just one day earlier, he did say in that BET interview that he would reevaluate his decision to stay in the presidential race if he, quote, had some medical condition. Let's bring in the infectious disease specialist, Dr. Amesh Adalja, on this. 81-year-old man. We know all the particulars about President Biden. What about COVID-19 in, July of 2024 for an 81-year-old man? What do you say?
It's still a serious condition, even though President Biden is vaccinated, boosted, has had prior infection, is getting Paxlovid. You still have to take this very seriously. We know that when we see people that are hospitalized or die from COVID, they tend to be elderly adults, and he fits into that demographic. So it will be very important to monitor his symptoms to make sure that he doesn't have a bad bout with it. The fact is, though, that he's had a couple of bouts with this already. It's unlikely that he's going to have a severe case, but you have to be prepared for that.
Like you said, he's being treated, as doctor said, with Paxlovid. I want to put up some numbers to your point. I think people, you say still a serious case for someone like this, but they see the numbers, percentage of deaths from COVID in the USA this week is at 0.8%. That's June 30th to July 6th, okay? Next number, the latest on how many hospitalizations we've had from COVID in the country, and that's 2 per 100,000. So I guess, Dr. Adalja, people see numbers and they have anecdotal conversations with their friends, say, this is not as big of a deal anymore. But do you warn against that kind of talk? Or?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. From an aggregate level, we're in a very much better place in the country. I just finished an 8-hour shift at the hospital. I didn't see any COVID patients in the hospital. That's a good thing. That's because there's so much immunity in the population, so many tools like Paxlovid to keep people out of the hospital. That being said, though, if you're someone that's high risk, this is still a threat to you. And that's why it's very important for high-risk people to be mindful when they're in crowded, indoor, congregated places, to have plans to use antivirals if they test positive, and to use monoclonal antibodies if they're in that severe immunocompromised group. That's all going to be very important. This is an endemic virus, so I think we're kind of at the new normal with it, but it's still going to kill.
By the way, that's an old picture of the president wearing the mask, as it says, from 2020. But I noticed he wasn't last night. That's all right now? You're not wearing masks, or what's the protocol?
Well, if you're infectious and you're going to be around other people in high-risk settings, you should be wearing a mask. So in that picture, we saw the president was outside, so that the risk for transmission is much lower in an outside situation. Inside situation, but if he's indoor with people, he should be masked at least for the first several days of this illness.
Yeah, that's last night versus 2020. Last thing here before we let you go on this this variant that's going around now. I think they call it the flirt variant. Is that right? We'll put up the stats on that. What should we know about it, and then we'll let you go.
This is just more evolution in this virus in a way to try to get around some of the immunity that's in the population. These things were predicted, and there's going to be variants after these flirt variants, but they tend to be the dominant ones right now, and we'll likely see them in the updated vaccines that are available in the fall. But there's always going to be a march of variants in perpetuity. That's what respiratory viruses do.
All right. We always appreciate it. Again, just the facts as you know them, the science behind those facts. You've been doing it since March of 2020, I think. So thanks for coming on today. We appreciate it. Dr. Adalja there. Thanks.